Nigeria President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says over 8,000 criminals, including kidnappers, bandits, Boko Haram terrorists and armed robbers have been killed since he took over office in 2023, adding that 10,000 persons, mostly women and children, were rescued from kidnappers, emphasizing that Nigeria is now more secure than it was when he was sworn in as the president of the West Africa country. This, he stated after the president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, CBCN, Archbishop Lucius Iwejuru Ugorji, stated that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu economic policies are pushing millions of Nigerians into poverty. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made the response to the observations made by the CBCN president on Sunday in Abuja during the opening session of the first plenary meeting of the 2025 Catholic Bishops' Conference, held at the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria, CSN. According to Archbishop Ugorji, the economic reforms introduced by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration has triggered skyrocketing inflation and pushed millions of Nigerians into poverty. While speaking at the event themed, Jubilee of Hope, a light for a better Nigeria, he said Nigerians have continued to endure increasing hardship on account of the harsh socio-economic situation, including high cost of petroleum products, transportation and essential goods. While the economic reforms introduced by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration aims at stabilizing the economy on the long term, they have significantly triggered skyrocketing inflation, drastically reduced the purchasing power of Nigerians, and plunged millions into poverty. The World Bank projects that 129 million Nigerians now live below the poverty line. The 2024 Global Report on Food Crisis lists Nigeria as the second globally in terms of acute food insecurity, with 24 million people categorized as food insecure. According to data drawn from the National Bureau of Statistics, food inflation hit 39.84% in December 2024. It is reported that Nigerians now spend about 65% of their income on food alone. Thus healthcare and other basic necessities are sacrificed, Ugorji said. He noted that government's efforts to alleviate the sufferings of the citizenry through the distribution of palliatives, duty waivers on imported food items, and other measures have remained the tip of the iceberg. He said while Nigerians continued to suffer and die, the resultant daily stress is having heavy tolls on the mental health of many parents as they overstretch themselves to make ends meet. Bayo Onanuga, in a press release on Monday, stated that the Catholic Bishops' Conference, at its first plenary meeting of 2025 in Abuja at the weekend, gave an alarming prognosis of the state of the economy and the polity that sounded more like snippets from an outdated book. In his opening address, CBCN President Archbishop Lucius Iwejuru listed youth unemployment, insecurity, poverty, corruption, and electoral fraud as some of the ills plaguing the country. He demanded quick action from leaders nationwide to stop the country from drifting. President Bola Tinubu deeply appreciates the constant interventions of the Catholic bishops in matters of governance in our country. The Conference of Catholic Bishops' patriotic fervor and commitment to national unity, peace, and stability are unassailable and deeply valued and respected by the government. While some of the governance challenges in the areas highlighted by the bishops remain, it is important to state categorically that our country has made tremendous progress in all areas since President Tinubu assumed office about 22 months ago. In terms of insecurity,
barely 3 months after Syria ended its more than a decade-long civil war, with the ousting of the then President Bashar al-Assad, who fled into exile in Russia, another civil war broke out in the northwestern part of Syria on Thursday, which many observers, especially war monitors, described as the deadliest in recent history, with war monitors putting the human casualty figures at more than 1,000. But many local residents claim the numbers of human deaths recorded in the multiple clashes that continued till Sunday night may be more than 1,200, with Al Jazeera showing a video footage of one of the war monitors uprooting dead bodies from shallow graves. The TV station said to be among the 230 Syrian security operatives killed during the clashes, after deadly gunfiring ensued between armed group loyal to the ousted al-Assad and pro-interim government security operatives, which escalated to multiple attacks on civilians, and most of the civilians were killed in large numbers at their homes. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, SOHR, which monitors fighting in Syria, said about 745 civilians were killed in 30 massacres, targeting Alawites on the west coast on Friday and Saturday. Adding that, the number of fighters killed in the past 4 days brings the total death toll to more than 1,000 people, which the Syrian Observatory Group said included about 125 fighters linked to the new Islamist-led government and 148 pro-Assad fighters. It was gathered that the violence erupted along the Mediterranean coast, a region predominantly inhabited by the Alawite minority, to which Assad belongs. Local observers said that the death toll is the highest since 2011, when Syria has been engulfed in civil war. Syria's interim president, Ahmad al-Shara, on Sunday called for national unity as international alarm grew over the violence. What is happening in the country are expected challenges. We must preserve national unity and civil peace in the country, Shara said at a mosque in Damascus he said he used to pray at 2 decades ago. We are capable of living together in this country, as much as we can, he added. The ongoing clashes are the worst outbreak of violence since Assad, a member of the minority Alawite sect, was toppled in December by Sunni Islamist militants who sought to reshape the country's political and sectarian order, according to CNN. Adding, Latakia and Tartus on the Mediterranean coast are areas where support among Syrian Alawites for Assad was strong. Alawites, some 10% of the population, were prominent in the Assad regime, and while many Alawites have surrendered their weapons since December, many others have not. The latest surge in violence highlights the challenges Syria's new regime faces in appeasing disenfranchised groups, especially those that remain heavily armed. Meanwhile, the United Nations Human Rights Chief, Volker Turk, in a statement on Sunday, published on the UN Human Rights website, said that the killing of civilians in coastal areas in northwest Syria must cease immediately. Following, more than 25 persons have been reportedly killed during the week in Ukraine since President Vladimir Putin of Russia scaled up and doubled his offensive attacks on the neighboring European country, with President Donald Trump continuing during the week to block more U.S. military aid to the troubled country and making statements seemingly capable of demoralizing Ukrainian troops and probably inciting the entire Ukrainian citizens against their president, Volodymyr Zelensky, just as reports indicated that in the last 3 days, Russian troops have advanced, retook some territories in the Kursk region, and are about encircling the thousands of Ukrainian troops who had last summer stormed and took over the Russian Kursk region by surprise in anticipation to use the conquered Russian Kursk region as leverage to be able to hold meaningful negotiations with Moscow in any peace talks. This, as unverified and unsubstantiated rumors have spread widely in the North America country, the U.S., that President Donald Trump was one of the U.S. businessmen contracted in 1987 as Russia's spy, with Alnur Mosayev, the former Kazakhstan National Security Committee, KNB head and former Kazakh intelligence chief who served in the 6th Directorate in Moscow of the KGB, a Russian language abbreviation for State Security Committee, which was the main internal security agency for the Soviet Union from 1954 until its breakup in 1991. Insisting that recruiting Western businessmen was a top priority for Soviet intelligence, and Donald Trump was allegedly recruited by his department as a spy against the United States with a nickname, Krasnov. According to reporters covering the war in Ukraine, the deadliest Russian strikes occurred late on Friday in the Donetsk region town of Dobropilya, with at least 11 people killed when 2 ballistic missiles hit 8 residential buildings and a shopping center, as confirmed by Ukrainian officials. Other attacks in the region killed 9 people and wounded 13 on Friday and Saturday, local officials added, according to BBC. In addition to halting military and intelligence help, President Donald Trump of the U.S. suspended Ukraine's access to some satellite imagery, space technology company Maxar stated this on Friday. Reuters reported that Maxar in a statement said it has contracts with the U.S. government and dozens of allied and partner nations, and each customer makes their own decisions on how they use and share that data. The company said the contract in question is GEGD, the Global Enhanced GEOINT Delivery Program, a U.S. government program providing access to commercial satellite imagery collected by the United States. The U.S. government has decided to temporarily suspend Ukrainian accounts in GEGD, Maxar said, referring further questions to the U.S. National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which confirmed the action. In accordance with the administration's directive on support to Ukraine, now has temporarily suspended access to the Global Enhanced GEOINT Delivery System, or GEGD, which is the primary portal for access to U.S. government-purchased commercial imagery, a spokesperson for the agency said. Max's action was first reported by the military news outlet Military. We take our contractual commitments very seriously, and there is no change.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.